It's that time again. I am Mary Grace. This is the Mary Grace Show, and you are watching episode 19, Conspiracy of Truth, Save America Edition. And I have with me today my good friend, praying medic, Dave Hayes. Hello, Dave. Great to see you. Let's start with our little disclaimers. As people are coming in, this is an exciting day. We are set to have a conversation between friends. It's not an interview. It is a conversation. So there will be times when Dave talks, there will be times when Mary Grace talks, and we will go back and forth. So we do appreciate everybody being here. We appreciate everybody chatting with us. We have a live stream going on multiple platforms. We are on X, we're on Rumble, we're on Facebook, we're on CloudHub, we're on something that I'm forgetting, but we're on a number of places, and we appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you sharing. It looks like my Facebook isn't active, so we'll see see if that actually takes hold here. Oh, I think we're on YouTube, but I will tell you that for YouTube, you've got about 10 minutes over there, and then we're shutting that down because they hate this guy. They hate him. They hate the sound of his voice. They hate his name, whatever. They keep taking episodes down. So, you have other places you can go, and if you look in your YouTube notes, you will see where you can link to other places to watch the show. You can go ahead and do that now if you want. Other thing I wanted to say is Dave and I will cover a lot of topics. It's unscripted. There is a lot, as usual, to talk about. And we do try to see your comments. We try to look at them, but it's not a Q&A. It is a conversation between us. And I think that's it for now. Dave, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty darn good. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me back on the show.
Oh,
Always a
always
pleasure
great.
to conversate with one of my best friends.
It is absolutely wonderful. And we've both been like busier than a one-armed paper hanger these days. I mean, it's just so much going on. And who knew since the last time we went live that there would be one, maybe two more attempts on President Trump's life. Um, yeah, it's interesting, and we're in the last less than 50 days here before we're supposedly having an election. What are your thoughts about where we're going with that?
Yikes. Lots to talk about. So, well, as you mentioned, several attempts on President Trump's life so far, including one that isn't really getting a lot of attention. And I guess I'd start with that one. It's the one that no one's talking about, and the mainstream media has downplayed as a nothing burger. And that was the report that there were explosives found near the rally site where Trump was having the rally on Long Island. And if you follow Darren Beatty, you should follow Darren Beatty.
Okay.
Uh,
That's
he did a little
Revolver News, Revolver News.
Revolver News. He did a little deep dive on that, and he
Okay.
said that whole thing is very, very suspicious. The original reports when that came out was that there were uh, explosives found by law enforcement in the area, and it seemed like a legitimate news story, like someone had intentionally dropped off explosives in that area. It was the day that Trump was talking. It was within a very short distance of where he was speaking at. And then the story develops into, oh, no, no, it's a private citizen who's doing training with his bomb sniffing dog. And there weren't real explosives. It was just a testing little scenario on the day Trump's speaking, near where Trump's
Yeah.
speaking. Some rando private citizen is out there training a bomb sniffing dog. Right.
Okay, hold on just a second. Hold on. Wait, Dave. All right. I just want to I just want to go through this scenario. So I have a dog. Let's say his name is Joe. No, not Joe. Let's say his name is Jimmy. And
Okay.
I decide that I want to train Jimmy the Beagle, to be a bomb sniffing dog. So I go out to like bombsupplies.com
Right.
And
You can go to Acme. I hear the Roadrunner gets and the Coyote, gets his stuff at Acme. So
okay,
that's
I go to Acme,
yeah.
and I order right to my door, and then I assemble the ingredients, and I go out and I just randomly happen to plant them in an area within close proximity of where President Trump um, is going to be speaking. There's no red flags up till now. There's nothing weird about this. And
No.
then it just happens that my beagle Jimmy is out there sniffing around and somebody notices. Okay. All right.
Right. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Well, and I look at trajectories and I look at trends because if you want to get the 30,000 foot view, big picture, what's going on, look at trajectories, look at trends,
Yeah.
evaluate where things have been in the past. That gives you some kind of an idea of where things are going in the future. So the first attempt on President Trump's life that we know about
Yeah. Yeah.
was Matthew Crooks, Butler, Pennsylvania, supposedly lone shooter, although that's up for debate. And a lot more and more members of Congress are starting to come out saying maybe not a lone shooter.
Yeah.
The suspicious thing there was before the FBI had his phone, they went on Twitter and said it's a lone shooter. He has no accomplices. Really?
Well, they also destroyed the body.
They did no investigation at all.
Yeah.
And the same day of the shooting, they announced lone shooter, no accomplices. So that whole thing is suspicious. But all right, so let's just say, for sake of an argument, lone shooter. Then we have this incident over at the Trump golf course in Palm Beach, where a guy stakes out the golf course for somewhere between 12 and 24 hours. He's
brought
literally
snacks.
hiding in the bushes, waiting for Trump to come by so he can take a shot at him. The interesting thing about that story is we're getting more spin from the mainstream media. A source in the intelligence community probably reported to CNN that guy took shots at Trump, 4 shots actually, and Secret Service returned fire. You're not going to find that in any of the other news reports. All the other news reports are he never took a shot at Trump. He was seen by Secret Service. They took some shots at him, and then the guy fled.
Right. They spotted the barrel in the bushes.
Spotted the barrel sticking out of the bushes. Bullshit. They did not spot the barrel poking out of a freaking 50-foot tall, line of trees. I think it's likely he actually did get off some shots. Secret Service probably returned fire, and then the guy took off.
I mean, he brought snacks.
Yes.
Let's be clear about that. And whether he was tipped off or not, I mean, there's some speculation about that, right? I mean, because it's not a big area. It's not that far from Mar-a-Lago. When President Trump is in town, you can see his plane at the Palm Beach airport.
Right.
And so maybe the guy just put 2 and 2 together and decided that he
Trump's golfing schedule is not available to the public.
Right.
Who told him that Trump was going to be at that course that day golfing? Someone tipped him off.
Yeah.
There's no way he would have had that advanced information unless someone on the inside gave it to him. So then we go to Tucson, Arizona. This was last week. And in Tucson, Arizona, it's fairly close to the border. And there was a group of people there, Latinos for Trump, who were on the platform doing some speaking prior to President Trump coming out. After the rally, 20 members of the Latinos for Trump reported very unusual signs of sickness, blurred vision, itching skin, watering eyes, red skin, breathing difficulty, coughing, nausea, vomiting. So several of them were treated at the hospital for strange symptoms, and they all noticed the symptoms about 30 minutes after the rally ended. They were all over on the right side of the stage,
Hmm.
and they were exposed to something. We don't know what it is, some kind of toxic chemical.
Hmm.
Some people have suggested it was actually a directed energy weapon that was used against them. There was a large number of people who were the targets of something at a rally.
Well, I noticed too in the video, people have been posting the video of when Trump went over to greet them. And there is um, some people guessing that, they were trying to target him as well because he spent time shaking hands. So during the time that he was with them, that was probably the time that whatever this agent was released. And
Right,
for some reason, which is like, the hand of God, it didn't hit him.
right.
So yeah. Yeah, and then just yesterday there was something that happened. There was an event that he was supposed to be at that was, I think, scrubbed. I don't have all the details. Did you see something?
I did not hear about
Okay,
that.
I was online. I was, cruising through Twitter late last night, and it came across my radar, and it was beyond the point where I was actually actively saving things. So I didn't bookmark it. But if anybody is aware of that, just drop it in the chat here and let us know. You don't have to put a link. Just give me a reference or tell us who posted it because I did see something to that effect. And people in the comments are saying uh, that this is an attempt to shut down Trump's public appearances, to prevent him, to put enough
Absolutely.
fear into the public and into Trump to prevent him from making these appearances, right? If you have so many bomb threats or explosives dog training sessions going on, then people are going to start to think twice. That's the idea, right?
Yeah, well, look in 2020. What did they do with COVID? They weaponized COVID,
Yeah.
and they came up with the super spreader narrative to keep Trump from campaigning and to legitimize Biden not campaigning.
Okay.
Right. It was a narrative. It was a contrived narrative they
Yeah.
used to try to silence Trump, get him to shut down the rallies, and to legitimize Joe Biden mumbling in his basement incoherently in the dark. So this time
Mhm.
around, I think they're trying to do the same thing. I think they're uh, intentionally trying to create reasons why Trump should stop doing his rallies
Yeah.
because the more rallies he does, the more he's gaining traction in the polls.
Yeah.
Virginia is now within the margin of error for Trump.
I know, I know, I know.
Just
Yeah.
saying.
I'm so excited about that. And, more people, it's at least in my neighborhood, people have their Trump signs out. And they didn't have them out in 2016 or 2020.
Right.
And now people are like, don't care, voting Trump. You don't like
Yeah.
it, lump it. Um,
I'm looking for the hell yes, I'm voting for a convicted felon signs to come out,
yeah, or an insurrectionist.
or
Um, y-
insurrectionist or whatever.
I'll tell you
But
a data point. Can I tell you one data? Well, go ahead. I
yeah,
have.
no, no, go ahead.
So this is an interesting data point. So my Facebook page is extremely active, and I have like millions and millions in engagement, tons of comments on my posts. It's not uncommon for me to get 3, 4, 500 comments on a single post. And when they first brought Kamala out into the race, it was my page was inundated with the troll farms, with the troll farms pushing the same talking points, convicted felon, rapist, pedophile, like boom, 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 and it was obviously scripted talking points. And they were expending ammunition on that. I haven't seen those in the past 2 weeks. And I think that's interesting. If you're like me and Dave, right? You're watching these data points and
Data points. It's
right.
yeah, just looking at data points,
And
noting changes and wondering, okay, that's a
yeah,
change. What's
and
that
it
about?
is a change, and I think it means that they're not putting resources into that. Now, why they're not is up for question. The other thing that they're doing, which I think is hilarious, is they're running Harris Waltz ads on some of my videos. And people are telling me they're like, I have a one video of a guy, like a Trump guy that is, like, speeding down the road in his diesel, work truck, like, like, manual shift diesel work truck, gets out of the truck with a Dale Earnhardt cooler, blows the top off his beer with a 9 millimeter, and then he pulls this giant Trump sign out of the truck, right? So the people that are watching this video, it's gone viral
Wow.
on Instagram and Facebook. And
Wow.
yeah, and so it's had millions of views. And they're running ads, they're running Harris ads. I'm like, okay, whoever's running your social media ads, you need to fire them because they don't know how to target. And that's another data point to me that they're using the JV team to run their ads on social media. I think it's very interesting.
Well, they definitely have the JV team running their social media, because
Yeah.
if not, they would not have posted that challenge to Trump over the Arlington Cemetery scandal, because that thing blew up in their face massively. And
Yeah.
you can just tell they had some junior social media
Yeah.
morons,
Yeah.
little Zoomers who don't know jack about this, thought they'd be cute and go out there and challenge Trump on the Arlington Memorial Cemetery
Yeah.
memorial for the families of the Afghanistan soldiers who died. And then after that account, I'm not going to say Kamala because I don't think she
Mhm.
runs her social media. I'm
No.
sure it's some other people
Oh, everything Kamala has everything in the cloud,
up here.
including her head.
Is it up here?
It's up
It's
here.
up here above us.
It's up here.
Yeah. So they've got some morons running their social media. But what I was going to say is, you may not be seeing those bots and trolls anymore because those people have to be paid. You
Right.
have to pay, bot farmers and stuff. And they're now diverting resources, financial resources, to defending blue states like Maine and Virginia,
Yeah.
and I think New Hampshire. There's some other blue states that they're concerned about now, where she's actually going to have to go and do some town halls or some rallies to
Oh,
hold
please,
those blue
please,
states.
please let her do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they're seeing the polls shifting toward Trump. Like I said,
Mhm.
Trump is now within the margin of error in the latest poll in Virginia.
Yeah.
And the Harris campaign is now diverting resources to blue states in the Northeast because the margins are tightening. And it's possible that Trump may end up taking some of those states. New Jersey is another one that may come up. So um, people get annoyed with me, and I get annoyed with them. So it's kind of
Just don't throat
it's
punch anybody.
yeah. I'm not going to throat punch anybody, but I post polling information on X, and I get a couple of people who are just
Mhm.
in there all the time. The polls are fake. The polls are BS. Why are you posting these polls? They don't understand why I'm posting the polls. I don't post them because I think their information is accurate. I don't post them because I think it's a legitimately accurate gauge of what's actually going to happen in the election. That's not why I post them. So if you're listening and you're one of those people, please stop jumping in my mentions and screaming at me about posting these polls. There's a reason why I post them, because it's data. I look at data points. I look at
Yeah.
trends, and what we're seeing with the trend
Yeah.
with the polling is the polls are shifting in the direction of Trump. Not that the polls are necessarily accurate. We know that the polls are not, and some are better than others. There are some polls that actually got very, very close to the actual results of the 2020 election, and some that got very close to the actual results of the 2016 election and 2022 election. There are some pollsters who are actually able to figure this out, and they poll very close to the actual results.
Mhm.
Then there are, the mainstream media polls that are just crazy weighted toward Democrats, and it's just gaslighting
What do you
people.
think about Richard Barris? Is he one that you
I
have?
love Richard Barris.
Okay, Baris for people
Yeah.
who want to look him up. He's
Yep.
active on X. There's a lot happening on X, you guys. So if you haven't gotten there yet, it's time.
The
That's where,
people's pundit, Richard Barris.
yeah, the people's
Richard
pundit.
is a good pollster, good analyst, um, and Barnes is too. Robert Barnes, Barnes Law. He's
Okay.
another good analyst for polls. I'm following a couple of people that are very good analysts. If you go on my X timeline, you'll see me retweeting certain people who I think have a good understanding of polling and what the data means.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so what we're seeing is we're seeing the little bit of a bump that Kamala got from the DNC convention evaporated within a couple of days. And she had a small lead over Trump in some of the swing states. That lead is evaporating pretty quickly. It has evaporated. And it's looking now without factoring in cheating. That's the thing you have to understand.
Yeah.
When you're talking about polling, you are not talking about cheating. If they're going to cheat in an election, you cannot poll for that. There's no way to factor that into your polling. Polling is contacting a bunch of people and asking them, would you vote for this candidate? And how do you feel on these issues? That's polling. You can't poll for election fraud.
Right.
That said, right now, as it stands, Trump has a comfy lead in Arizona. He's got a comfy lead in Georgia. Even some of the left-leaning polls have him with a lead in Nevada. He has been consistently leading in almost all the polls in Pennsylvania. Michigan and Wisconsin are kind of toss-ups. Some polls have Harris leading in both of those states. Some polls have Trump. It's within the margin of error.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wisconsin and Michigan are, +1,
Yeah.
+2. It's all within the margin of error.
Margin of error is
Now-
up to like 3%. Is that kind
What's
of
that?
margin of error is up to
Usually it
three-ish?
depends on the polling method.
Okay.
Generally, 2 to 3% is the margin of error.
Okay.
And like I said, now Trump is within the margin of error in Virginia. The latest poll that came out yesterday has Trump head-to-head with Harris +2. So I think it was 48 to 46 in Virginia. And with a full ballot of RFK, Jill Stein, and all the independents, it's a 1-point lead for Harris in Virginia. And that is within the margin of error, which means it's essentially Virginia is a toss-up in this latest poll.
There's a challenger also to, I think, I don't know if it's Warner or Kane, whichever one is up for re-election. There's
Tim Kaine is up for re-election.
So Hung Cao is a Vietnamese American.
And that's actually a fairly competitive race.
Yes, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And I'll tell you why. Because he's Vietnamese. And the Vietnamese community is very big in Northern Virginia, which is where we tend to lose because it's an extension of Washington, D.C.
Right.
So Fairfax, some of the other Loudoun County, the bigger counties up there, Stafford County, they tend to flood the vote. And it's sort of like my area where it's mostly conservative, except you've got these pockets of urban population areas that are blue. And so back when our governor, the baby killer, Ralph Northam, was on an interview talking about letting a baby die. Remember that? The
Right.
one that they fact checked Trump on the debate, which was true.
Right.
That all came out of legislation that was being brought forth by a Vietnamese woman in the Virginia House of Delegates, Kathy Tran. And that incident activated the Vietnamese community to a level that no one has ever seen. They were furious. They disowned her. And that brought out the Vietnamese contingent for Trump and for life. And
Interesting.
yeah, so that's a little backstory for the people that don't understand, this how where did this guy come from? Um, there was a Trump did an event up in Northern Virginia with the Vietnamese community and endorsing Hung Cao. And so that's how we came to that place where we have a Vietnamese um, American who is running for Senate and getting a good endorsement and getting a lot of traction. It's very interesting,
Well,
isn't it?
Trump is going to be hitting those states, and I think
Yeah.
the Trump campaign knows that Virginia now is in play. So I would expect him to be campaigning in not just the 7 swing states, but also Virginia.
Yeah.
He's saying, he thinks he's going to flip New York for Pete's sake. He's been saying he thinks that New Jersey is in play in Virginia. So
Well,
I expect,
the bakery in I think the bakery's in it's in New York, but the one where they sell the cookies,
yeah,
on the debate day,
it's like
somebody
5-1 Trump cookies.
it was crazy. I mean, and the
Yeah,
bakery says, "We're nonpartisan. We take orders, we sell the cookies." Well, all the Kamala cookies were rotting in the back because
right.
they weren't being sold. I think
And they're getting threats of violence against them now because they're selling cookies
they're
that people.
selling red cookies. Yeah. This is crazy. The report, I want to go back to one thing about this report of
Okay.
the event that supposedly got shut down yesterday. Posobiec was reporting on it, so we take that with a grain of salt. Somebody in my chat was saying that actually it was a Polish Christian group up in Pennsylvania, and um, Epiglius is saying the restaurant's owner died. Um, apparently where the event was going to take place. That's what I'm
Okay.
gathering. So I'm not sure that it had anything to do with violence. Thank you, Epiglius, for clarifying that for us. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I want to go back to Virginia and the polling
Yep. Do
and
it.
what I think the
Do it.
significance of this is.
Okay.
So, um, so the polling is trending toward Trump. And I'll just say this up front. The easiest way for Trump to win the election is if he takes Pennsylvania, Georgia, and North Carolina. That would give Trump 270 and he would be the president. Okay. And that's actually very doable. The only thing that really has to happen to make to make that a reality is they need to find a way to minimize the cheating in Philadelphia and in Atlanta. That's the problem.
Fulton County.
If they bring out the
Yeah.
cheat in Philly and Atlanta, it's going to be hard to bring those 2 states in. Trump is very very much leading in the polls and a solid lead in Georgia and Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Those are 3 states in a fair election. Trump is absolutely going to win those 3 states, and that would give him 270. The thing we don't know about is cheating. So let's say Georgia does not go to Trump. Georgia goes to Kamala Harris. The next best scenario is Trump gets Pennsylvania and North Carolina, and then picks up, let's say, Wisconsin and Arizona. Because Georgia has 16 electoral votes and Arizona has 11, it would require Trump to pick up Arizona and another state with at least 5 electoral votes. That's not Nevada. Nevada would help, but Nevada's not going to do it. So if Trump could win Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Arizona, or Wisconsin and Arizona, he's good.
Okay.
And I think Trump has a very good chance of winning Arizona as long as we don't have this massive cheating again. Right. So that's the scenario that we're looking at. Trump is doing very well in the swing states. He's gaining traction in some of the blue states. And in an election where there is no cheating, I think Trump gets well over 300 electoral votes.
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing we don't know about is to what degree are they going to be able to cheat. We've got election integrity things happening all over the place, in Wisconsin, even in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia and Arizona. All of those states are currently either just getting election integrity measures put into place, or they're going to court. They're being challenged. We've got a bunch of things happening here in Arizona. There's a bunch of things happening in Georgia. Georgia, yesterday, the state election board just voted to require counties to hand count the ballots after the voting is all done, not hand tabulating. They're still going to be tabulated by machines, but they're going to literally physically count the ballots and then reconcile them with the number of voters that voted.
Can you explain the thing that happened with the Arizona Supreme Court about the citizenship thing as well?
Yeah, so there's actually two things
that
are happening in Arizona that are significant right now.
Okay.
The first of which isn't getting a lot of media coverage, but it is significant, and it has to do with ranked choice voting. We do not have ranked choice voting here in Arizona, but the slimy, swampy Republicans and Democrats, the Uniparty, they got a proposition that they floated through this year to go on the ballot to bring in ranked choice voting into Arizona. And of course, they hid this intent under a bunch of subterfuge. And if you read the proposition, it's really hard to understand what it is they're actually proposing. But they're proposing this in the name of fair elections. But what it really is, they want to bring in ranked choice voting. The problem is
they're trying that here too.
The petition that they filed had 38,000 duplicate signatures on it. And it was litigated, and it went to Supreme Court, Arizona Supreme Court. And the judge told the Superior Court judge in Maricopa County to reopen the case and look at these 38,000 duplicate signatures and make a ruling on it. So either yesterday or Wednesday, Superior Court judge ruled that it's too late to remove this proposition from the ballot. Now, the Supreme Court did something kind of unusual. They went past the deadline where you have to submit changes to the ballot. That was in August. The deadline for submitting changes to the ballot was like August 29th. The Supreme Court went past that deadline and said, no, we're looking at this. And if these signatures are fraudulent, you need to remove this proposition from the ballot. It can't stand. So the Superior Court judge yesterday told the state Supreme Court, FU, it's too late to remove this from the ballot. It's going to stay on the ballot. And so now his ruling is being challenged. It's going back to the Supreme Court. And I would imagine the Supreme Court is going to smack this judge pretty hard and say, take the measure off the ballot, damn it.
I hope so.
Stop giving me crap. So that's the first issue that is going on right now. The second issue is the 98,000 voters who are going to be allowed to vote a full ballot this year, who did not provide evidence that they are a citizen. Now, when that story came out yesterday, everyone was freaking out.
98,000.
Thinking, everyone was freaking out thinking, oh my gosh, they're going to let 98,000 illegal immigrants have, vote a full ballot. They're going to rig the election. Wrong. That's not what's happening. What's happening is our slimy Republican in name only recorder here in Maricopa County, Stephen Richer, thought he would be cute and get rid of a bunch of conservative Republican voters in Maricopa County. So through a database error, when they did some looking into this database error, they found that 98,000 longtime registered Maricopa County voters did not provide ID when they originally registered. Some of them 6 years ago, 10 years ago, 14 years ago. Okay, these are not illegal immigrants. These are people
Wow.
who just registered to vote here in Maricopa County. And for whatever reason, they weren't asked or they didn't provide ID when they registered. So Stephen Richer tried to have them all removed from the regular full voting roll and to make them vote a federal only ballot. So in Arizona, we have a weird situation here. If you come to Arizona and you go to register to vote, and they say, we need to see your voter ID, we need to see an ID, photo ID.
Hmm.
If you say, I don't have a photo ID, and you sign an affidavit saying you're a US citizen, Arizona will allow you to vote a federal only ballot.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you get to vote for the US Senate,
Hmm.
US House, President, and that's it. You don't get to vote for any of the state or local offices.
The judges and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Federal
Okay,
only.
that's very helpful. Thank you.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of it's kind of a screwy thing, but it's just the way it is here in Arizona.
Mhm.
If you sign the affidavit saying I'm a voter, I'm a citizen, they allow you to vote federal only. If you produce an ID, they give you rights to vote a full ballot. So
Okay.
that's the issue here. Richer was trying to get rid of a whole bunch of longtime registered voters in Maricopa County who, through no fault of their own, had been registered, just didn't show ID when they registered years ago.
Wow. So he can do that,
it
but
was
he
actually
can't
the Arizona Republican
Yeah.
Party that brought this case to the Supreme Court.
Wow.
So it's a good thing that these people are going to be allowed to vote a full ballot.
Mhm.
It's like I said, no fault of their own, and it's not a bunch of illegal immigrants who are sneaking their way in.
Yeah, yeah. It
This
just
was
goes to show
an attempt by the swamp
Yeah.
to literally disenfranchise a bunch of mostly conservative voters.
So when they really want to, they can clean up voter rolls.
Oh, yes, they
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, that shows that they when they have the motivation, right?
Speaking of voter rolls, there's some interesting thing going on with voter rolls.
Yeah.
I saw yesterday Oklahoma removed 400,000 voters from their voter rolls.
Wow.
People who had moved out of
That's
state,
a lot.
people who dead voters, 400,000 names removed from their voter rolls, and that's happening in a lot of different states.
Okay.
Which leads me to wonder if some of these people are starting to take Trump's threats seriously. You know, Trump's been out there telling people, look, if you're engaged in any kind of illegal election activity,
You're going to
we're coming
jail.
after you.
He said it yesterday. Yeah, all caps.
And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if some of these like secretaries of state and some of the county recorders are concerned that they're going to get investigated
Mhm.
by Trump's DOJ
Yeah.
if they don't clean their stuff up.
Yeah. They could be. They could be.
So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting, and I'd like to segue into something kind of related real quick,
Sure.
and that is I posted yesterday on X the better the polling looks for Trump, the more ugly the October surprise is going to be.
Yeah.
So what I mean by that is there's going to be an October surprise, guarantee it. There always is. The October surprise is some dirty trick that political operatives pull right before an election that changes the complexion of the election. And in 2020, it was the Hunter Biden laptop.
Yep. In 2016, it was the Billy Bush tapes, right?
In 2016, it was the Billy Bush tapes. It was also the Mueller investigation,
Right.
FISA-Gate. They had multiple operations going in 2016.
Yeah.
2020 was Hunter Biden laptop. So some conservatives for New York Post got a hold of the Hunter Biden laptop and wrote a story on what's on the Hunter Biden laptop. And that was going to sink Joe Biden's chances for being elected. If that story had gotten traction and all the corruption came out and was exposed, Biden would not have won the election.
Yeah.
That was an October surprise that was kind of launched by conservatives.
Yeah.
And then the deep state launched their own countermeasures, and 51 former intelligence officials say it's got the earmarks of Russian disinformation.
Right.
They shut down New York Post Twitter account. They tried to deplatform them to the best of their ability to shut that thing down so that Biden could get across the finish
And
line.
they banned thousands, like hundreds of anons, like you,
Um,
including you.
Every Q account on YouTube got shut down on October 15th, 2019, 3 weeks before the election, because they
2020.
knew 2020, sorry.
Yeah.
And they knew if we got this story out there, it was over. So they shut down all of our YouTube accounts on the same day.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of YouTube, I'm shutting that off. All right, guys, time to move over. Hey, YouTube people.
So the October surprise, this year, we don't know what it is, obviously. You never really know what the October surprise is going to be. I'm concerned because we've now heard General Flynn and Kash Patel both talk about the possibility of a power grid shutdown during this election cycle. That's my concern. My concern is that they find a way to basically cancel the election. If it looks like Trump is going to win in a blowout election and they feel like they can't manufacture enough fraudulent votes to win the election, I think they then go to plan B, which is, how do we cancel the election?
I was thinking about that too, because I don't think they have the ability to manufacture the numbers that they need, because they need to make it look like something close to 81 million.
Well, and the polling has to be close. They could steal the election. Like, you could have polling where if Trump wins the popular vote, it's over. There's no way that Kamala Harris can win the election in the Electoral College if Trump wins the popular vote. Trump can very easily lose the popular vote and win the Electoral College. That's easy to do. But if the polling is showing that Trump has got 4, 5, 6 point margins in the swing states, that's insurmountable for Kamala Harris. They could still steal the election, but it's not going to be plausible. People are going to scream and holler. It's not going to look like a legitimate election result. And if they do that, you do that too many times, you're asking for a violent revolution where people just get pissed off and they go and decide they're going to get rid of the government officials. So they have to be careful. They can't, if they're going to steal, it has to be a fairly close polling margin in November, or it doesn't look like a legitimate election win. It looks like a steal. And you already have 2/3 of American voters who think our elections are rigged. And if they do it again and the polling margins are massively favorable for Trump and they steal election again for Kamala Harris, then you end up with 80 to 90% of American citizens who think our elections are rigged. And that's not a good thing.
No. I mean, we're at the point where anybody who's actually paying attention and has critical thinking skills has zero trust in our government. I mean, it's over. And I had General Flynn on the show last week, and I asked him about the FBI. Could it be salvaged? And he said, no, it's rotten to the core. It needs to be dismantled. And, and he also said, if he's asked to be a part of the administration, he would happily step into whatever role the boss asks him to take.
But we know he has said on social media, that he wants to be the FBI director and be in charge of dismantling that corrupt entity. I think that'd be the perfect position for him. I'm praying that
I think so too.
Someone like Kash Patel or Ken Paxton becomes AG, Flynn becomes FBI director, and they just take the axe to it.
I'm liking Ken Paxton, the AG. I mean, that guy is just ruthless.
Yeah, well, Ken Paxton said on War Room with Bannon that he said the same thing that Flynn said. He said DOJ is hopelessly corrupt, FBI hopelessly corrupt. Those entities need to be just demolished and something else put in place.
And I'm hearing from some solid sources that the that this is not going to be anything like the first Trump administration, meaning that the day that Trump walks into the White House, heads are going to roll and entire departments are going to be getting pink slips. They're going to be cleaning out, especially at the administrative level, not just the heads of departments, but those people who sat by and watched and said, "I'm
Yeah.
just doing my job." That's there's going to be a lot of carnage and a lot of tears,
Yeah.
a lot of cardboard boxes walking around DC on January
The
21st.
difference, I think, between the last Trump administration and this next one, if Trump wins the election and if they certify the election and if he's inaugurated, because none of those are a done deal. Even if Trump wins the election, I think it's going to be weeks or months before we know the results. And Jamie Raskin and the rats on the Hill have already said they're not going to certify the election for Trump.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then,
Ivan Raiklin is talking about this. Um, that if they take Congress, then they're not gonna certify the election.
yeah, I have concerns that
Yeah.
we're going to be thrown into a season of turmoil. But if Trump does make it into the White House, I think the big difference is going to be that I'm writing the fourth book in the Q Chronicles,
Okay.
and I'm going back through some things that Q had posted and doing some other research. And it's actually kind of amazing when you do the research and look back how many people Trump fired from his first administration. It's not talked about a lot, but Trump did wholesale cleaning in a number of offices: FBI, DOJ, State Department. When the Ukraine hoax came along and they used it as an impeachment, he got rid of Ivanovich, whatever her name is. She was the ambassador, and a bunch of other people in that office. Trump got rid of people, inspector general offices that were corrupt.
Okay.
Trump actually got rid of a lot of people who were corrupt during his first administration. The problem was he did it after he found out that these people were corrupt. They stayed in until he realized, okay, you're working against me. You need to go. This time,
Yeah.
going in, Trump doesn't have to wait for these people to stab him in the back and sabotage him.
Yeah.
He already knows on the front end a lot of who the government gangsters are who need to go, like on day one. So I think that's going to be a huge change in the way that these two administrations are going to operate.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, well, I know too that he's already assembling his transition team. I mean, he's not waiting. He's not waiting, and people are in meetings every day.
So my guy,
Yeah.
wink wink, is telling me that they have been vetting and training people who are going to come into the Trump
Yeah.
transition team into government positions. They've been doing it for a long time.
Yep, that's what I'm hearing too.
They're
Yeah.
not wasting time.
Yeah.
They have a very comprehensive program for vetting and training people who are going to be coming in. So
Yep. I'm confirming that too. So we're on the same page with that, and our sources are on the same page, which is good. And as a point of prayer, obviously, this is something that the left is tipping their hand. They're explaining in so many words what they're going to do. Ivan Raiklin has been talking about this. He's explained the process from the legislative side of how they would try to keep him from getting sworn in, even with winning the vote. And so this is for Christians, for people of faith. This is strategy. So it's giving you very specific prayer points for intercession, so that, because we know that God shows us things so that we can partner with him and develop strategies in prayer. And I want to encourage people, don't just throw your hands up and agree with this and say this is a done deal because these people are saying this is what's going to happen. If you look at it with your eyes, with your physical eyes, and your ears, and you hear and see these things, that's what it looks like. But we know throughout history that when the people of God turn to God and look for a supernatural solution, God is more than able. There's story after story after story where something looks impossible and then God turns it around. And I want to encourage you on that.
I'm going to put out a specific prayer point.
Okay.
So we started out talking about the attempts to harm Trump and get the rallies shut down.
Okay.
I'm concerned that there may be a mass casualty event at a Trump rally between now and Election Day. And so I would strongly urge you intercessors to be praying that any plots to harm people in large numbers at a Trump rally or anywhere in the country, those plots would be exposed and foiled, and they would come to nothing.
Yeah. Amen. Amen. That's a good one. Yeah, that and the plots that they have that are not hidden, they're very open about them to keep him from taking office.
Right.
Yeah, good prayer points. And I want to transition into another topic, but since we were talking about the ballots and we're talking about ballot measures, I want to bring up something quickly that I think a lot of people aren't aware of, but this is something that is starting to hit us in Virginia, and I think that it's probably happening in a lot of other states, and this has to do with abortion. And I want people to be aware of this, and I'm going to tell you a website that you can go to see the process that is unfolding in Virginia, because then you'll know what to look for in your state. And it's crazy, and it would be devastating for life, for the support of life if this happens. The website is familyfoundation.org, familyfoundation.org. And what they're trying to do is not Family Foundation, but the left, the pro-abortion, anti-life group, is they are actually they're trying to change the Constitution of Virginia to make abortion a protected human right. And this is a big deal. So pay attention. They want to make it a protected human right. They want to change the Constitution. So it would be on the scale of what we have in the Bill of Rights. And that way it would be almost impossible to have any laws in Virginia that prevent somebody from having an abortion. And what I want is for you to go to familyfoundation.org and look at this and look at the details, and then start researching at your legislative level to see if this is coming to your state, because they're trying. Obviously, they got defeated at the Supreme Court. They think that Trump is going to do a nationwide abortion ban. They're calling everything Trump's abortion ban, et cetera, et cetera. So they are just full speed ahead to try to make this happen. And if they're doing it in Virginia, you can guarantee they're doing it in other states. And I wanted to bring this to your attention as we're talking about things that are getting put on the ballot. It's not on the ballot this year. It has to go through a process when they're talking about making changes to the Constitution. So it happens over a few years, but they're laying the groundwork for this. And if people aren't aware, it will get snuck in at the state legislative level, and people will have no idea. And then it will be part of the Constitution of your state. And then obviously the next stage is that they would make a constitutional amendment nationwide. And then
they're doing it here in Arizona too.
Okay, so yeah, it would be they want to make abortion untouchable, just like civil rights. They want to make it like a civil right. So yeah, there you go. It's happening in Arizona.
Yeah, there's a ballot measure this year in Arizona that would change the Constitution, the state Constitution, and allow a very liberal ruling on abortion.
Yeah. And that so they've already
One of
got
the
it on the ballot in Arizona.
yeah,
They don't have it on the ballot in Virginia yet, but that's
yeah,
the goal.
it's on the ballot here, and they had a lot of support signatures
Yeah,
for that
yeah,
proposition. It's one of the things that Democrats are doing is they're using this issue to bring out voters. The Democrats are out there telling people, reproductive rights are on the ballot. You got to get out and vote this year
yep, yep,
because they're going to take away your abortion rights, and this is your way to put it into the Constitution. So,
yeah.
yeah, it's whatever
It's a
state you live in. Look at your ballot very carefully and know
mhm.
what the propositions are, what the issues are.
Yeah, and it's a big deal. It's all like when it gets to that point, it's all but irreversible, and untouchable. Like you can't challenge abortion once it gets to that stage. That's what they want. They want to make it a fundamental human right, which is insane because one of the humans in the equation doesn't get a say. Um, so they're literally taking away human rights by making it a human right to have an abortion. This is so we're going to transition here in just a minute. It's you know what time it is, Dave. It's break time. Um, we're we're almost at an hour of this conversation. I want to give a shout out. We're gonna take a little break here. Don't go away. Keep listening. Keep your device with you so you can hear us. But if you need to refresh your beverage or you know do other things, this is the time so that you don't miss the conversation. Thank you to my moderators over on Rumble. You guys are keeping the chat going very smoothly. I really appreciate it. That's Millie, Delia, Christy, doing a rocking job over there. All of my Rumble listeners, please go to the video, go under the video and hit that thumbs up. We have over 500 listeners, but only 61 thumbs up. Don't put thumbs up in the chat. I mean, you can, but what really helps is you hit the little thumbs up underneath the video. That gets us up in the feed on Rumble. And when you're on our other platforms, please leave a comment. Please comment on Facebook. Please comment on the other platforms. If you were watching on YouTube, you can't hear me right now because I turned it off. So I hope that you found your way over to the other platforms, and we hope that you are watching on those other places. X, please repost anywhere that you are. Leave a comment during, after the show. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know what stands out to you from this conversation. And also, if you just got here and you didn't get any notifications, this is the time to go to my website, marygracemedia.com, and join the mailing list. Go join the mailing list so that you will get notified before we go live. It's marygracemedia.com. The other thing I want you to do when you're over there is go shopping. Go to the shopping tab and support the America First companies that we partner with. We have all kinds of things over there. We have My Pillow, we have our Grid Down Chow Down freeze-dried beef, we have superfoods, we have our wellness store, we have gold and silver. There's a whole lot of things you can do to help support the show when you partner with those companies. I almost forgot, we also have Synapse. We have our friends over at Synapse, which is our functional medicine team headed up by Dr. Troy Sproul. We love these guys. They're helping to get America healthy, which is a big emphasis of President Trump's campaign. And one of the things that they have told us is that you get healthy from the inside out by figuring out the root causes of what is going on with you. And that is what they specialize in. I've been working with the team. It's really shed light on some things that I've been dealing with autoimmune and things like that. So if you have a diagnosis and you've been told by the standard medical establishment that it's just the way it is and that you've got a stack of pills that they want you to take for life, that may not be the case. I can't tell you for sure, but the guys over at Synapse can. So it's officialsynapse.com. Now, I'm going to also give you a couple of ads from our favorite freeze-dried beef folks and our favorite pillow guy. So you got 2 minutes to listen, pay attention, support our America First partners, but you can also step away as long as you're listening. Here we go. We'll be right back.
This is my brother. And I'm Nace, and we're at the Grid Down Chow Down. And this is Larry, who is a local rancher that we've partnered with. Now, Larry, you've been ranching for over 4 generations, is that correct?
That's correct. I'm 3rd generation, my son's 4th generation, and I've got some grandkids that are 5th generation.
Man, that's awesome.
We've been here quite a while, yeah.
All right, now Larry, your cattle is grass-fed, grass-finished, and pasture-raised, just like God intended them to be.
Yes, because I want to know what's in that animal,
Right.
what it's been fed, and so the only way to do that is for us to keep it all natural, just like God has done it for years and years and years, thousands of years.
How has partnering up with us helped you and your ranch?
Well, it's allowed us to develop a market that we didn't have before, one that can get directly to the consumer, and that's great.
And just remember, more importantly, with every package that you buy, we put a salvation track in there. So from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you for allowing us to do what we believe that God has us here to do. And just remember, God loves you. He really does.
Amen.
Go to griddownchowdown.com and use promo code MaryGrace.
Listen, we're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
Okay, here you go. So you've got My Pillow right here if you want to scan it, mypillow.com, promo code Mary Grace. And then here is our griddownchowdown.com. This is freeze-dried beef. This is not jerky. It comes out like a little freeze-dried brick, and you add water, and then you have raw hamburger. So you can make pretty much anything you want. You can make tacos, lasagna, spaghetti sauce, hamburgers, whatever you want. It's just like that. That's a pound right there. And people are telling me how much they love it. They're also getting on the subscription, so you can get a little bit every month, and then you've got real food that you're putting away for when things maybe go down the tubes. So that's a good way to do that. Griddownchowdown.com, promo code Mary Grace. And then don't forget Synapse, officialsynapse.com. Tell them Mary Grace sent you, and they will take care of you. It's a free discovery call. So if you're wondering if they can help you with your condition, just make the call, reach out on the website, put your information in, and then they'll schedule that call with you, and that's no charge for that. All right, so we are getting back to the show, bringing Dave back on. We've got more to talk about, lots more to talk about. And we've got just a little time to do it. So, Dave, I wanted to ask you if you have, for those of you who are just tuning in, I've got Dave Hayes with me, Praying Medic, and this is our Conspiracy of Truth, episode 19, Saving America edition. One of the narratives, of course, that people have bought into erroneously about Trump is that he's the architect of the January 6th insurrection. And that's actually caused a lot of pain and division in our country. We just heard yesterday that there are official transcripts out where it proves that President Trump asked for and authorized a large National Guard force in DC for that day. And this is something that has been refuted, even though Kash Patel has sworn under oath before the January 6th committee that is what President Trump told him several days prior to January 6th. And it was told to him and other people in the room. Now we have transcripts. Have you seen that? And can you talk a little bit about it?
Oh, I sure can. Denise and I had a little conversation last night.
Okay.
And it took a little bit of doing on her part to get me to take her concerns seriously. But we went through the transcript, and she just read through things that Mark Milley said, Chris Miller said, and I was actually pretty surprised at what I found. So like you said, Kash Patel, he was Chris Miller. So Chris Miller, he was acting Secretary of Defense.
Hmm.
Mark Milley was Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Kash Patel was Miller's Chief of Staff. And Kash's testimony has always been that Trump authorized National Guard and or
Hmm.
active duty military to be at the Capitol to maintain law and order on January 6th.
Yep.
And he is, that's just, he's been banging that drum forever.
His story never changes. It's in his book.
Story never changes.
Yeah.
What I found out yesterday is that Chris Miller was actually, I've always liked Chris Miller. I thought he was a good guy. I was very disappointed at what I heard he said in his reaction to Trump's ask for protection of the Capitol. So Chris Miller has always said on video in interviews that he made the decision as Secretary of Defense that there wasn't going to be uniformed military personnel with their, automatic rifles marching down in the streets near the Capitol, because his concern was that that would look like a military coup. And he didn't like the optics of that. And he's like, that's not going to happen. So I thought, okay, I could understand that. Like I said, I've heard him in interviews over the last 3 years. That's been his story. But that's not the entire story. So what we found out yesterday and reading through the transcripts is Trump was basically begging the members of the military, saying, look, we have to have peace. This has to be lawful. This has we have to have law and order. We can't have, there's going to be a lot of protesters there. We cannot let this get out of hand. We can't let this become a violent mob action. You, as the guys in the military, I'm authorizing you. I want you to, whether it's National Guard, DC National Guard, or whether it's active duty military, you need to deploy enough personnel at the Capitol to make sure this is not going to get out of control.
It's the opposite of what they've been saying about Trump.
Very clear that Trump repeatedly told them this has to be well-controlled, law and order. We can't let this get out of hand, right? Exactly the opposite of what the mainstream media has been telling us for 4 years.
Yeah.
And what we found out yesterday is all of the generals, Mark Milley, who is, like I said, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs, Chris Miller, all of them said, no, this is we don't like the optics of this. It's not going to look good. We can't have uniformed personnel with rifles on the streets. That's not going to look good. We're not going to do it. Hey, Trump, screw you. And Miller actually, in his, the transcript, Miller basically blew off Trump as just bloviating and being hyper concerned about nothing. Miller did not take the threat seriously. He did not think he was being given an order from Trump. He said, I did not take this as an order from the commander-in-chief. He just thought Trump was just being kind of a histrionic character, and he didn't take him seriously. And nobody did. All of the generals, everyone in the Pentagon, all basically thought Trump was being some kind of a worrywart, and they decided, no, we're not going to send anybody. They did eventually end up sending a small number of National Guard to an area not near the Capitol. It's kind of away from the Capitol, like a half a mile, that could be called up if needed. And of course, we all know that the communication problems happened and they were not deployed in time. And we know what happened after that. So yeah, the transcript, I think, vindicates Trump once again, proves that what Trump has been telling people for years was true, and the mainstream media and everybody else was kind of gaslighting the public.
Yeah, to put it mildly. And the question is, I think we all know the answer to this, is will the mainstream media come around on this and and tell the truth and show this to the people and, admit that they were wrong. No, they won't, because in their minds, they're not wrong. They're absolutely justified. And if they do breathe a word of this, then it blows away their whole entire narrative, which is that Trump is the threat and continues to be the threat, and that if he gets anywhere near the White House again, it will be the end of our democracy. So I
Well,
don't think they will.
the press has known for 3.5 years that they were wrong about this.
Yeah, yeah,
There's no way they didn't know what was said in
it's
this.
intentional.
They knew they were wrong.
Yeah.
They just decided that they wanted to gaslight the public and lie to them
Yep.
about what happened.
Yeah.
That's just how they are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about the
Absolutely.
truth. They are paid to push a narrative, and that's what they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they do. And I think that, it's interesting listening to them, because it's, to me and you, it's so obvious what they're doing. It's so obvious. And for them to come out just the day after another attempt on President Trump's life and to say that he's the threat, it's just, I mean, it's mind numbing to think of the outright lies that they push, but that's what they do, because
Well, it's
they
not just the claim that Trump is the threat to democracy.
that he has to be removed.
There are some who are saying that the assassination attempts are Trump's fault.
Yeah,
And he's bringing this
Yeah.
on himself.
like classic victim blaming, right? It's like, can you imagine if you did, like, it was her fault. She shouldn't have worn that skirt, That's
Right.
what they're saying, that it's
Right.
his fault.
Basically, that's what they're saying.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's, I mean, it
You shouldn't provoke people to
kill you.
act out violently against you.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody tried to tell me that when, his post about Taylor Swift was enough justification. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess if you're a communist, it is. But they're bent on taking him out. I just have to take a deep breath. It's just, I found myself, I'll be honest, with this most recent situation with the golf course. I mean, I'm usually dispassionate about these things, but I was really like in a throat punching mood that night. It was like, my patience was razor thin. And it didn't take much to get me to just, rake people over the coals. But part of it, that's part of what they want, is to get people wound up to a point of committing violent acts and doing and acting out and reacting. And this is an important point. I think somebody listening needs to hear this, because one of the things that we hear a lot from General Flynn and Boone Cutler is protect your mind, control your emotions. And this is important now more than ever. More than ever. Take seriously what I'm saying. It's one thing to, put something out from your keyboard and in anger, but be very careful that those things don't spill over. And even what you say online, I mean, just protect your mind, control your emotions. And if you find yourself getting to that point, that's a time to step away. Step away, put down your phone, get outside, get to a place where you're not constantly getting fed by that stimulus. Pray, turn on worship music, whatever it is that de-escalates you, because the enemy wants very much to escalate the situation to where people are lashing out and acting out in violence and even rage, because then that gives them all the justification they need to step in and say, see, this is what we told you about these Trump people, and now it's playing out. So and they know what they're doing. They know
Yep.
what they're doing.
They're trying to provoke us to violence.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
bottom line. all of the things that are happening against the
Yeah.
January 6th defendants, who are, I've always considered them to be prisoners of war. We
Yeah.
are in we're in a cold war, in a sense,
Yeah.
against the global communist regime, the deep state, the administrative state, the swamp, whatever you want to call it. We've been in a cold war with the regime for years. I look at the January 6th defendants as prisoners of war.
Yeah.
They're taking prisoners of war, and they're continuing to do so. DOJ is continuing to arrest and charge more January 6th defendants every day as we move to toward the election. Merrick Garland has been on his soapbox, threatening us if we dare to challenge the results of the election, reminding us if we take any violent action, if we threaten, intimidate, harass election workers, we're going to be subjected to, the fullest extent of punishment under the law. They're signaling, and they're kind of taunting us, but they're also in a way provoking us. They want to provoke a violent reaction so they can take away our rights, incarcerate us. If they get enough people spun up to where an actual violent insurrection happens in Washington or in a state capitol, due to some event, a mass casualty incident, a terrorist attack, whatever, their goal is control. They want to take away our constitutional rights, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom to carry, bear arms. They want to take away those rights, and the only way they can justify it is by goading us into reacting violently, and that's the one thing we have to make sure we do not do.
Yeah.
So do not let them take away your peace. Yeah. If you feel your peace has left you, the peace of God has left you, and you're emotionally wound up, full of rage, indignation, and anger, back away from the keyboard, shut down the computer, put your phone down, let it charge for a while, go outside, touch some grass.
Yeah.
Go to a park.
Yeah.
And pray and get back in touch with the Holy Spirit and let him bring your peace back.
Absolutely.
And he can go back on the battlefield.
And that includes, I think, as well, when you encounter people online, they're sent to provoke you. That's part of the information war. There are talking points that they use. Just remember, the person that's on the other side of that post is somebody that you don't know. And always ask yourself, what's the payoff? What's the actual payoff of engaging with this person, arguing with this person, calling them names, et cetera, et cetera. There are people who are called to educate and inspire and invite people into conversation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these tit for tat kind of things that I see on social media where, I see conservatives doing it. I see Democrat or leftists doing it. They come in and it's just immediate insults, right? What is the payoff of that? That would be my question. And especially if anything that you're saying or typing can be construed as a threat or violence, because they're looking at it. They're looking to provoke you and then have something that they can screenshot. The internet is forever. Right. And so it's always a question like, what's the payoff of what I'm about to type and hit send? And what's the consequence? So,
yep.
Yeah. Dave, I wanted to, can we shift a little bit here? We've got about 25 minutes. Shift. Yeah, let's talk about some of the things that you've been helping people with. You have a tremendous ministry of prayer and healing, emotional healing. You run a Telegram channel, a very active Telegram channel with lots of testimonials. And part of that is also preparation. And so I wanted to give some time to talk about that because obviously people need encouragement, and they also need practical help in getting to solutions. But one of the things that's so frustrating is when we tell people, okay, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is wrong, this is bad, and then they're kind of left hanging and like, what do I do now? you know and so God has really given you a mandate to help people have solutions. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, our ministry is primarily focused on Ephesians 4, 11 and 12. What Denise and I do is we enjoy, and we feel called to train and equip the saints for the work of ministry. The work of ministry, as we define it, is doing the stuff that Jesus and the disciples did. If you read through the Gospels and read through the book of Acts and look at the things that Jesus and the disciples did, I believe that's what we should be doing. If you're a disciple, a follower of Jesus, you're supposed to be doing the things that he did, that he told us to do. The Great Commission, in a sense, is for us to go out and preach the gospel of the kingdom, but that gospel comes not just in preaching, but in demonstrations of power and demonstrations of authority. So you read through the Gospels, Matthew chapter 8, 9, and 10, you see Jesus demonstrating power and authority. He exercised authority. He cast out demons from demonically oppressed and afflicted people. He released power and worked miracles, and he taught his disciples to do the same thing. Luke chapter 9, verse 1. Then he called his 12 disciples to himself, and he gave them power and authority over sickness, over demons, and to cure diseases. And then he sent them out to heal the sick and proclaim the kingdom. That's the commission Jesus gave them. It's a commission he gives us. And so my ministry is focused on teaching people how to release the healing power of God. Very simply put, the healing power, that power that Jesus gave his disciples, gives you and I, it's the Holy Spirit. When you are born again, when you are born of the Spirit, Holy Spirit comes to live inside of you. The Holy Spirit is the power of God for healing and miracles. You release that power and people get healed. My favorite example is a woman with the flow of blood who was stalking Jesus while he was on his way to the house of Jairus, because Jairus' daughter was sick and she was about to die. And Jairus begged Jesus, hey, come to my house. My daughter's not doing well. He's walking there with the disciples. Woman is following him. She has a flow of blood for many years. She says, I know if I touch the hem of his garment, I'll be healed. She grabs the hem of his garment and power comes out of him. And he turns to the disciples and says, who touched me? And Peter says, what do you mean, Lord? The whole crowd is touching you. Everyone's touching you. What do you mean? He said, I felt power go out of me. Who touched me? Power. Dunamis. She touched the hem of his garment, and power left him and went into her body and healed her. That's the power of God for healing. That same power that left his body and healed her, we can release that same power and work miracles, creative miracles. So my book, which you saw up there, Power and Authority, it is a Power and Authority Made Simple. The book explains in a way that I think anyone can understand how we release power to work miracles and how we exercise authority to effect healing and to get rid of demons. And my goal is to take these abstract concepts of power and authority and make them concrete so that the average person can understand them. You have no understanding of Christianity. If you have nothing about healing or miracles or deliverance, you'll be able to look at this book and read it, see the examples from the New Testament, and some of the testimonies that I share, and you'll be able to do the same thing. My goal is not to just get people healed because I'm some gifted person on the platform. I'm not. I'm not a gift. I don't have the gift of healing. I'm not some anointed, super anointed person. I'm just an average guy like everybody else who I happen to take this stuff seriously. And I started practicing it on the ambulance with the patients that I transported. And I started to see people miraculously healed. And being a teacher by nature, I thought, wait a minute, if I can do this, I wonder if I can teach other people to do it. And I've been teaching other people to do this for going on, 15 years.
Long time.
I really enjoy teaching people how to do this stuff, how to do deliverance, how to affect emotional healing, physical healing, creative miracles. That's kind of my wheelhouse. And so I not only accept prayer requests from people who need to be healed, but I really enjoy teaching you how to do this for your friends and family and strangers. That's kind of what our ministry is all about.
And you have a very active Telegram group. I'm going to find it here so I can show everybody.
The Telegram channel, if you go to Telegram, the channel name is praying_medic, and then there's a chat channel. And I post testimonies on there pretty regularly, almost every day. And we get testimonies from people who've been healed of all kinds of crazy things. We get testimonies from people who have changed the weather, who have seen storms dissipate, who have prayed over their broken washing machines and seen them supernaturally repaired, broken dryers, broken air conditioners, cars that wouldn't run, prayed over them, and they ran. People who just see all kinds of crazy miracles. The stuff that God is willing to do way more supernatural stuff than you can even imagine.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. So if you're on Telegram, you can go to the Telegram channel, and we put out we have a list of videos. The videos are all designed to train and equip you how to do the stuff. There's a lot of there are also videos in there, healing videos, where I put these videos together where I pray for certain conditions to be healed, whether that is heart conditions, lung problems, respiratory problems, long COVID, immune conditions. There's a prayer video for the nervous system. So that deals with everything from Lou Gehrig's disease, multiple sclerosis, neuropathy. That video on Rumble is coming up on almost 500,000 views on Rumble.
Wow.
It's a very popular video. But a lot of people have been healed.
And it's under Praying Medic on Rumble.
It's under Praying Medic on Rumble.
Okay.
Or you can go to the prayingmedic.org website. That's our ministry website. And if you click on the little portal that goes to the healing prayer page, all 6 or 7 of my healing videos are on this one page, and you can listen to any or all of them on prayingmedic.org.
Prayingmedic.org. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. We lost his sound. Hold on. Are you there?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay. Sorry. That was weird. Prayingmedic.org, and all of your books can be found there as well. I wasn't aware of that video. I'm going to go check it out. Now let's talk a little bit about preparedness. We have about 10 minutes to do that. And you have been taking many, many rabbit trails, but you also have a book on preparedness, emergency preparedness, and off-grid communications. Here it is, right here.
I do. This book is not a super in-depth book on preparedness. I am reading some books that are super in-depth books on preparedness.
Yeah.
There's a guy on X/Twitter called Don Shift. It's just DONSHIFT,
Okay.
Don Shift. He is a former Ventura County police officer. He, career cop, and he is very, very knowledgeable about the area of preparedness. And I think I have now 4 or 5 of his books. He wrote a really good book on drone warfare. He has books, one called Suburban Warfare, one is called Suburban Defense, and he's got some fiction books. I'm reading his books. Those books are very, very in-depth, topical books on preparedness. Okay. This book, mine, Emergency Preparedness and Off-Grid Communication, is a entry-level book on emergency preparedness, right? So it's not super in-depth on any one subject. I cover a lot of subjects very broadly. So this book, if you don't know how to read a map, okay, if we lost cellular service for whatever reason, and you wake up one day and your cell phone is not able to connect, and you cannot access Google Maps, and your navigation apps are not going to tell you where to go anymore. Do you know how to read a map? Well, in this book, there's a chapter that I teach you from square one, how to read maps, how to understand the numbering systems of houses, how streets are numbered in cities, and how to navigate using streets and house numbers, how to find north and south and east and west if you don't have a compass. So the book covers, like I said, a lot of different subjects. I talk about putting aside food and water, contingencies for losing power. Talk a little bit about the different types of generators, gas generators, solar generators, thoughts on how to prepare for a power grid failure. There is a chapter on mental preparedness. There's a chapter on what life would be like in a society without rule of law. If government collapses and there's no local law enforcement, no EMS, no fire, how would you get by? What are the rules of engagement for that kind of a situation? And then that's the first half of the book is general preparedness. The second half of the book, I talk about off-grid communication. If we were to lose internet and lose cell phone service, what are the options available for communicating at the neighborhood level, at the city level, at the county level, state level, nationwide and internationally? There's many different types of radios, many different types of ways to communicate, some of which require a license, some do not. Some you can use a cell phone and send text messages. Meshtastic is the one I'm thinking of. Meshtastic is a really good option. It's been growing in popularity. It's becoming very, very popular just in the last 6 months. The cool thing about Meshtastic is it uses little tiny radios about this big.
Amazing.
Low power, long range radios that can allow you to transmit text messages basically up to about 100 miles. I have a Meshtastic radio on the roof of my house, and I regularly pick up signals from units that are in Tucson, 95 miles away. There's no license required. The radios are dirt cheap. You send encrypted text messages off of your phone through a mobile app, and it creates a mesh network in the area of all these connected nodes, and you just could communicate with these people, whether it's at the neighborhood or the city or the county or the state level.
And you use the phone doesn't require connectivity. It's just it's a tool.
My Meshtastic node that's in my office, it's the radio is on the roof. The phone that I use to stay connected to it is in my office. It doesn't have a SIM card. It's not connected to cellular network. It's not connected to Wi-Fi. It's not connected to anything but the mesh network.
Wow.
You can literally buy like an old Android phone off of eBay that doesn't even have a SIM card. As long as you can access, what I do with my phones, my spare phones is I turn on the Wi-Fi on the phone and I connect to my local Wi-Fi, and then I could go to the Play Store, download the Meshtastic app onto my phone, install the app, and then I shut off the Wi-Fi on the phone, and it doesn't connect to the cellular network, and it doesn't connect to Wi-Fi.
Is it only Androids that it works on?
No, you can use iPhones.
Okay.
Yeah, the iPhone app is really nice for Meshtastic. by the way.
Okay, interesting. That's
So
so
these,
once you get it downloaded before losing internet,
yes,
and then it
as long
works.
as you have the mobile app on your phone before the internet or cell service goes down, you're good to go. You can
Okay.
connect to these Meshtastic radios by Bluetooth, and then the radios set up a mesh network in your area, and you just connect to all these different phones. It's completely off grid, no cellular, no internet, nothing. The radios, depending on the type of radio, they're very good on power consumption. They don't take a lot of power. With one of those little solar cell phone chargers, you can charge one of those radios up in about a half hour, and the charge will last anywhere from a day and a half to 7 days, depending on the size of battery and how much you're using it. It's a
Incredible.
really good off-grid communication
Yeah.
option.
Sounds very
So
low tech too.
it is very low tech. I've taught people the basics of getting connected with Meshtastic in 10 minutes. It's not rocket science. It's low tech, no license. It's encrypted. You have fairly long distance communication with it if you can get your antenna up at above rooftop level.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's the book covers many different types: amateur radio, HF,
Yeah.
radio, UHF, VHF, GMRS, marine radio, scanners, and listening radios like shortwave. So the book covers all the different
Mhm.
options for communicating off grid. It's very well received. The local hams in this area, they're getting copies of it, and they really like it. They are finding it quite helpful. So
The local hams.
the local hams.
Yeah, and you're doing a lot of ham radio, which is a whole in-depth
I am.
thing.
I
And
am.
you have Telegram channels dedicated to that.
I have Telegram channels for dream interpretation. There's a ham radio and GMRS channel.
Yeah.
There is a channel for nutrition and health. There's a prepper channel. I got all kinds of channels on Telegram.
This is a good time to let everybody know
Yeah.
that neither Dave nor I will ever message you or comment on social
email.
media or put a comment in the Rumble asking you to buy into any money schemes, whether it's crypto, what's that?
QFS,
QFS,
Ysara, Ysara.
XRP, any of that. None of that is us. And when you're on Rumble, it's important to note that I have one account, it's Mary Grace Media, and it's a verified account, which means that when you see my name on Rumble, it has the little green triangle after my name right there when you see that. So if somebody comments in the Rumble chat or in the comments for me or for Dave, we're both verified. If you get a comment from an account that says something like Mary Grace Show, the real Mary Grace, whatever it is, if there's no little badge verifying, then it's not us. So just delete it, report it, ignore it. If some people email me and say, I saw this, that's helpful because then I can report it. But please don't click on any of those links, guys. That's just danger, danger, danger. Same thing on Telegram. None of us, we are not messaging you. We are not going to try to get you into any kind of schemes through direct message on those platforms. So be aware, please be aware. And speaking of scams, this is just a PSA. Anybody that's on Medicare, this is open. This is open enrollment. And there are companies that are just all over the map. That I don't know. They're getting your name. They're getting your information. Once you're over a certain age, there's all kinds of plans they're trying to sell you into. One of the worst ones is Medicare Advantage. And I just want to put that out there because I have a friend who owns a medical practice, and they said that their patients are just getting screwed royally when they opt in to this Medicare Advantage. That's just a freebie out there for you guys to, because I want you to protect your money and protect your hard-earned investments, and don't get sucked into these things. It's very, there's so much of it. But just be really careful, okay? All right, Dave, back to you.
Don't invest in Nasara, Jasara, or QFS. Buy some silver.
What about Iraqi dinars?
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. But you can, if you want gold and silver, just go to our gold and silver folks. We have Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange.com.
Yeah.
They can help you if you want, just set up a conversation with them. And especially if you have a large sum that you feel like needs a little more protection, if you sold a property, if you've got like cash in the bank, if you have some retirement money in IRA and you want to move some of it into something that is stable, that's not a scam, it's going to be gold or silver. And they explain it to you. They explain exactly how it works. It's physical metal. It's not a paper certificate. And that's really, really important that you understand that. And again, go to the website. They explain it, bh-pm.com, and make sure you tell them that Mary Grace sent you. I'm glad you mentioned that. And then some people on Rumble are telling me that they're having problems with some promo codes. If anything like that comes up, please go to info@marygracemedia.com. Just send me an email and let me know, because I actually can't go back into the live chat on Rumble and find your comments. So it doesn't work. Info@marygracemedia.com. Let me know what happened, and then I will contact the affiliate companies. The good thing about the companies we work with is that we actually know them, and they're real people that we can call and say, hey, we had a customer who tried to use the promo code. It didn't work. Here's their order number, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the beauty of what's of how that works. That's why we work with these companies. So, all right. I think we're coming up to the end here, but Dave, is there anything like on your heart, anything pressing that we didn't cover that you want to go into today?
I would say this is going to be difficult for many of you to hear, but I'm going to say it anyway because I think it's important. I think we have some very difficult days ahead. I am still optimistic about the long-term prospects for turning this country around and restoring the foundations of liberty, righteousness, and justice, equal justice under the law. I'm optimistic about our chances of doing that. However, I think in the short term, we've got some very difficult days ahead. I would buckle up and get ready for some difficult times. And I think that war, a world war, World War III, is looking more and more likely all the time. A lot of people have opined that we're already in World War III. It started years ago. And we're sort of leading up to the big event. Because if you look at the way that World War I and World War II started, it didn't just suddenly start with, this big battle that suddenly happened. It's little tiny things that lead up to a battle that drags in more and more nations on sides against each other. I think that we're going in that direction. What's happening with Israel and Iran, what's happening with Ukraine and Russia, those are the two things that have me the most concerned. I'm praying about those conflicts, and you should be too, that we can resolve them peacefully. However, I'm concerned that they're not going to be resolved peacefully. In Ukraine, the powers that should not be in Europe and the United States are not looking for peace with that war. Putin has offered peace talks, peace agreements at various points in that conflict, and the West has said every time, not interested. They just keep pushing and pushing and pushing
Yeah.
and pushing. And I'm very concerned that that is going to turn into a global war. So, on the one
That's
hand,
what they want. That's what the warmongers want.
it's what they want.
Yeah.
They have this all planned out. They've got it mapped out. So if we can get Trump back in the White House, I think all that stuff ends relatively quickly. If we do not get Trump back in the White House, it gets very ugly, I think.
Yeah.
And
And that's
so,
why they want him. That's why they don't want him there.
sure,
Yeah.
yeah, because their plan is global war,
Mhm.
what Q would call a mass extinction event that
Mhm.
that is planned,
Yeah.
and they're pushing for that end because their end game is global domination of over a very small population.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I think we need to, number one, get prepared for some very difficult days ahead. Number two, pray every single day that these conflicts can be resolved peacefully.
Yeah. I think
That's
that's great.
my
Yeah.
that's my final word for today.
And as we always say here, don't be scared, be
Be
prepared.
prepared.
Yeah, because our purpose, and I hope it's come across clearly, is that we don't want to scare you, but we want you to be sober minded and alert. Um, and really, I would also encourage everybody, think about your priorities, whether it's family, like where are you spending your time? What are you focusing on? I think more now than ever that's a question that I would bring to the Lord and seek guidance on that, on where and with whom you should be focusing your attention. Because, you know, the worst thing is regret when you realize that you were spending time and attention on things that really don't have kingdom value. And it's different for everybody. Um, the things that I'm called to do aren't the things that you're called to do. And so only you can determine that with God's help, what it is that you're focusing on right now, what you're putting your attention and your resources into. But I would ask those questions very seriously, where God would have you focus. And it may not be where you currently are. And so I would be prepared to do some shifting if that's what you feel God telling you. Now that being said, if you have a partner and there's other people that are affected when you make change, just be aware, like don't fly off the handle and do something crazy and say, "Well, God told me to do it." Consult those other people that it's going to affect. Have wisdom. But definitely start searching. And if you have a partner, that's a time too to have the conversation with them. Like, are we doing what God really wants us to do? And that's something I admire about Dave and Denise. They're very dialed in as a couple, as a team, to what God has them doing. And so I just want to encourage everybody in that. I also want to let people know that I have several shows coming up here soon. My tomorrow night at 8 p.m. I have a live show. Monday I have a show, and then also Friday I have a show, and I will announce those times as we get closer to it. I also interviewed General Flynn last week on the channel, so if you missed that, it's on all of my channels. It was a great interview, and I think it was on Tuesday. So go back through my social media and you can find that. It's pinned right now on my X account, and it was a 30-minute interview, so you can listen to that, and it was very encouraging. One thing I wanted to put out there too is, if there are shows that you are listening to that you really like and you think, Mary Grace would be a really good guest on that show. Reach out to me and let me know so that I can be aware of it. It's not always easy for me and Dave to be aware of everything that's out there. I mean, people send me stuff all the time, and it's like, my list of what to listen to is so long. But I want to connect with those people. So if you feel like there's somebody that's a like-minded broadcaster that you think would be a good fit, I'm looking to connect with some more people in that way. So just email me, info@marygracemedia.com. And like I said, get on the mailing list because you don't want to miss when I have shows. And the best way to know that is to go to right there, marygracemedia.com, get on the mailing list, and then you will get an email when I go live. I think that's it for today. And I want to just check the chat here and see if there's anything that we missed. Okay, we got some questions on there. If you have questions about anything specific, contact the person that you're directing the question to, whether it's me or Dave. Just contact them. If it's a healing or prayer request, go to Dave's Telegram, join that group, and do it there. Unfortunately, we can't do that on this show. That's just not the format that we have here. We see things in the chat. We do see it and we're aware. But you will get a lot of response and a lot of people praying for you and helping you if you join that Telegram group. And we don't want those requests to go unanswered, but we want them to be in the format and in the right forum that's designed and set up for that. So I think that's it. And I appreciate you so much, Dave. Thank you for being here. Thank you to all of our audience. Thank you to our moderators. And again, repost this, share it, leave a comment when you come back. Let us know that you're watching the replay, and let us know what came out of this show today that you found to be of value. I read the comments, we go back and read them, and it really helps to see what it is that stood out to you and what it is that was valuable to you, and maybe what is helping you to help other people. So we hope everybody has a great day. Get outside, touch some grass, listen to the Lord, and refresh yourself. And I don't know, maybe watch a little football. Everybody have a great day. Bye.